Okay, and hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is building on the pause menu that we created earlier. The pause menu was nice because what it allowed us to do was to be able to pause the game if we needed to get up and go to the bathroom, go make a sandwich, whatever. And then we'd be able to come back into our game, hit the resume gameplay button, and we'd be able to start playing our game without having to worry about our guy taking damage, or if we had a time clock, the time clock might stop. So those sorts of things. Now, the thing about what we have is that we can actually use the functions of the pause game to help us when we are going from level to level. And what I mean by this is, imagine that you get to the end trigger box and you click, you check the trigger box and you trigger it, you contact with it, and the enemies keep hitting you while you're waiting for the enter key or for some other motion. So you could end up with like a double jeopardy deal where certain things are happening in the game that you don't want them to. So the best thing to do would be to get to the end or get to your end trigger box that will trigger you to go to the next level, and make sure that there is a pause game that happens as you're going through. So then this way a menu can come up and you can click a button on the menu, and then that will allow you to be able to go through. So that's what we're going to do, okay? Obviously there's different ways that you can set it up, but I think it's better to, for showing you purposes, for there to be buttons, so then that way we can make sure that it's working correctly, okay? So let's go ahead and start the project by right-clicking, copying our last version of the project, which already has our pause menus in there, and let's go ahead and paste this. And then we'll go ahead and rename this project 9f underscore pause EL for end level. So underscore EL. Or here I can actually type it out. So pause end, because this is just the folder, but when we're dealing with the project name, remember to keep it shorter. So here we'll identify it fully as the pause end levels. And this one will make F. So we'll have project 9F, pause end level. And let's double click in here. Let's rename this. And we already know what the EL stands for, end level. And we'll make this an F. And then we can start. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you what's happening. So in order to do this, I'm actually going to go into the level complete widget, and I'm actually going to click on the green background, and I'm going to not only disable it, but go ahead and get rid of it. So then that way we can see what's going on behind the widget when the widget pulls up. So let's hit compile, and let's go to the other one and do the same thing. So I'm going to go to the level fail widget, right click on that, and double click on that to open it. Click on the red, or go into the image panel and go ahead and delete that. And again, we'll just have a clear background. So compile and save. All right, so with those two things like that, let's go into level 1 and let's show you what's happening. So if I go into level 1 and let's go to the trigger box at the end. Once I hit the trigger box, for us, if we had the image up, we would have seen like a green screen, and then we would have been able to hit enter or end to move on to what we needed to. But if you notice, my character is still able to move around. So at some point I might bump into something that might not be beneficial for me. I would still also be able to hear the shooting. So you can see that even after I've triggered the end box, I'm still actually inside the level with my health bar up, and still able to take damage. So what would happen if I hit this and then I was took enough damage? What would we get? Would we get like a double condition? Let me see if I can walk forward enough to get this to happen. Okay, and there we go. So now we have both the fail condition and the win, and we have access to both enter and ends. So we would have a pretty big problem here. So let's get this fixed up so that we don't have this actually happening to us. All right, so first thing that I actually need to do, and what you need to realize that we're going to have to do, is that we're going to have different widgets for different levels, and we're going to need to have our complete these guys. Let's see, individually tailored for each level, and we'll have to do that for the level complete. So let's actually start there. So we'll actually build the widgets first, and then we'll build those into the lesson, or into the rest of the code. So I'm going to come over here to level complete widget, and I'm actually going to rename this one, and let's call it level 1. And instead of complete, I'm just going to say win, because it's takes up less space. Okay, so now we have one that's called level 1 win widget. So if we double click and we'll enter that, what we'll do is select the text, and what you can actually do is right click on it over here in hierarchy and say wrap with, and look for button, and it'll automatically throw a button on it. And let's do the same thing for the other one. So let's press on, whoops, see if we can move this down. Am I still playing? Is that why it's, nope, okay. See if I can move this out of the way. Maybe I can get access to the other one. Or we can just, which one is this? Press in. Let's put a button on that. So we'll right click and say wrap with button. And there we go. Now we can move it independently of the other one. So I'll just kind of center these up a little bit. Okay, now obviously the information that's on there is incorrect. We're no longer going to keep the enter or the N keys. We're actually going to get rid of those. So let's go into the text themselves, and let's actually go ahead and rename these. So instead of saying press enter to play, let's just say play level again. And in this case, it wouldn't be play level again. Let's say go to next level. Okay, and the one down here at the bottom, its information would be probably just return to main menu. Oops. Alright, now the other thing that I also want to do is I want to identify this windscreen from from the second one that we might create. So in the text for complete level, I'm going to say complete level 1. So then that way I know that when this gets tagged in, that this is actually the complete end level for this. So at this point, we could probably just go ahead and assign our buttons. So with the first button selected, I'm going to right click into graph. And if I scroll down here to the bottom in the details panel, let me just shift that up a little bit so we can see it. We'll see on event clicked. And since I know that this is the first button, we're going to say this is a win screen, so this is going to be moving from level 1 to level 2. So let's type in open level, and in here my level 2 is called level 2, so you'll just have to name it whatever whatever level you want it to move to. Okay, so that's that one. Now I know for sure that button 1 is going to be the secondary button, which is the return to main menu. So I'm going to drag off of here, do the same thing, say open level, and let's go ahead and call this one, in my case it's called main menu map 2. Let me make sure I spelled that correctly, and in the same text, so main menu map 2. Alright, so that should be good, so we can hit compile and save. And so essentially what we have is a UN complete level 1. We have a button that'll take us to the next level, and a button that will return us to the main menu if we so choose to. So with that, this is complete. I'm going to leave the level background blank, so then that way we can check to make sure that everything does what it needs to, that it pauses. So I can go ahead and close this. If I want to right now, I can go ahead and let's go ahead and duplicate this. And on this one, let's go in and give it a slightly different name. So instead of it being widget, let's say this is win level, or level win 2. All right. And so now we have a widget for when we win level 1 and a widget for when we win level 2. Now, obviously, we would have to go into this widget. And if you had a level 3, you would say move to next level, so that could be the same, and you can leave the return button the same. But we would definitely need to come here to the text for this, and not say that we have just completed level 1. Let's go ahead and make this level 2. so that we know that it is that we are in the right level. And just in case you needed to, you can click here on go to next level. Let's go to the graph, so then that way we have that one selected. And here you would again go level 3 or whatever the next level is that you are going to go to. So you would have to make sure that this is right, otherwise you could just keep respawning back in level 2. You would never progress to level 3. Now in my case, I'm going to leave it alone because I don't have a level 3 for it to go to. And instead of saying go to next level, I'm going to retype this as play level again. So let's type that in as play level again. Okay, so that'll then make sense in the demo that I'm creating. So let's type compile and save, and now we have the 2 widgets. From here, what we're going to need to do is go to your first. Let's see if we have to do anything here. Yes, let's go ahead and open these, and since we're no longer going to be using the enter keys, let's not have those there so that we don't confuse the system into doing anything that it doesn't want to do or that we're not asking it to do. Everything else should stay the same except for this. We don't want it to create that other widget that we had originally. What we want to do is make sure that if we are incomplete level 1 BP, that we want this to be the win level 1 widget. So on complete overlap will now take us to level 1 widget. That will then open that in the viewport, make things available, and make sure that the mouse is available for us. So we would have access to the player control. Alright, so from there we can go ahead and hit compile and save, and let's do this to the second one. Since we do have and if you had a third level, you'd have to do the same thing. So I'm going to select those, hit delete. We're going to come here and see how it's we would be respawning into level 1 even though we won level 2. So let's make sure that we get the right widget, and with that we can hit compile and save. Okay, so now we have this correct. In here we have both a widget for the win level and a widget for the win level 2. And now what we need to do is go into our blueprint for our first person character. And here we're going to have to make a couple of changes. So I'm actually going to move this up to the top because it's going to make more sense with what we're doing up here, because we're going to actually add a couple more of these. Again, off of our health bar, off of the tick that's checking our health bar, we're no longer going to have these. We can go ahead and get rid of them. I realize that this is for the health bar and we haven't done anything with the fail screen yet, but we will. So while we're here, we can go ahead and get rid of those. And essentially what we need to do is we need to create a condition just like we did here for when we pause, that there's a function that creates the pause function. Otherwise, what's going to happen is if we open this one up, it's going to open up the pause menu function. We don't want that. We want it to open up the move to next screen, the you have one condition, not the pause condition. So we're actually going to have to come over here to functions and create several. We're going to have to create a function for every level. So every trigger box that you have at the end of your level will need a new pause function. And we're also going to have to create one for the lose or the you have failed condition. So let's go ahead and create these functions. And before we do that, let's click in the pause game one, and let's go ahead and copy this, because this is going to be the same. All we're going to do is create a new variable and then replace these two with the new variable that we've set. So let's go ahead and select all of this and hit Control C on your keyboard to copy. Let's go to new function. Let's call this function, so let's click here, let's right click, let's rename it here, I guess. And let's call this level, the same thing we did up there, level 1 underscore end pause. And that'll be the new function. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to click somewhere and hit Control V to paste. So we now have all the, pretty much we saved ourselves a bunch of time. We don't have to go ahead and redo this since we did it in the last tutorial. Now, what we are going to want to do is obviously we don't want to create this widget, so we're going to replace this widget with, since this is level 1, right, we're doing the level 1 end pause, we want this to be the level 1 widget that shows up. Let's go ahead and delete this, this, and this, right? And what we're going to do is, since once this has level 1, we're going to be able to pull off of this and say promote, wrong one, sorry. We're going to right click and drag out and promote to variable. Alright, now with that selected, let's go ahead and rename this variable and let's call it end pause level 1 or L1, so I know which one it is. Okay, from there I'm only going to attach the top node. I don't have to attach the blue to the target, so just attach that one so we complete the loop. And then we're going to drag off of there, now that we know what it is, end level pause 1, get, and that will then plug into the target. And let's grab another one, or we can duplicate this one. We'll just right click and duplicate, and let's grab that and drag it here. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is just like in the pause menu. Once this function has been activated, it's going to pause the game. It's going to check to see if this widget has already been created. If the widget has not been created, it's going to create one. It's going to then make sure that we have as the event, as the variable that it's targeting, it's going to be doing this end pause, and then it's going to open up the user interface to allow us to be able to get the mouse control, and then we have the mouse control, and it will affect this widget. So with that, we can hit compile and save, and we're going to have to now do this for, we're going to have to create another function for level 2. So since we have the widget created, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and create a new function. In this function, let's call it, just like we did the other one, level 2 underscore end pause. Oops. Pause. Okay, now that it's there, we can again right click. Oops. Sorry, we don't have the right information there. So let's go back to this. Let's copy that again. And I'm in the last level pause. Let's go down here and hit B. Now we have almost all the information, but we're going to do this now for level 2. Okay. In the class, we want to make sure that we are telling it to open up the level 2 win widget. From there, we're going to go ahead and delete these just to make sure that we don't have any issues. And I'm going to promote this to a variable. So let's go ahead and promote that to variable. And from there, we can attach the top node. Let's go ahead and name this variable. Oops. Yeah, I guess we could do it here. We can hit rename. Okay, maybe not. We'll just click it there and come up here. And we'll call this end level, or level 2 end pause level 2. Once the variable's there, I can come down here and pause level 2, grab that, add it to the target, make sure you grab the right one, and then yes, get it as a get, and add that. Okay, so now we've done the same thing, right? So when this function is activated, we're going to pause the game, we're going to check to see if the widget has already been put up there. If the widget has not, then it's going to add it. It's going to see it's going to add this widget, and then from there, it'll give us access to the user interface, and that user interface will get its controls from the keyboard and the mouse that are there. We can get the end paused, and it'll be available only for this widget, and then we have access to the mouse and we can see it. So let's hit compile and save. And then the last bit of this is actually going to be in the first person character. We have to actually go back to the event graph, and just like we did up here, we had a when the input happened, that's when the pause happened. Otherwise, we've set everything up, but we haven't told the character to actually pause. So we have to do that in the first person character. So now that we have these functions, what we can do is say on event overlap, right? So when we have an overlap, let's see, event action, event actor begin overlap is what we're going to type in. So let's type in the event. So event actor, there it is, begin overlap. Okay, so we have that. We have multiple levels, so unfortunately, remember, anytime we have a node that has something like this and we're going to attach a couple of things to it, we're going to have to put a sequence. So let's grab that and let's type in sequence. All right, once we have the sequence, we want this event to be cast to the complete level 1 BP, because that's what we're running into. Remember, that's where we have the collision box. The collision box, and let me show you again, is here, right? So the collision box for the end of level 1 is here. The collision box for the end of level 2 is there. So that's why we're going to need to make 2 of these. So let's go back to the first person blueprint. And as we drag off, we're going to have to say cast to complete. There it is. And not the class, just the actual blueprint. It's going to ask us what we were going to be running into. It's going to be ourselves. So we want, when we run into this, we want the N level 1 pause, and I'm getting that from the blueprints, right? So I came over here to my blueprints and we created that. We just grabbed that one function that we just had, and we're gonna connect this to the end. Come on. We're gonna connect this to the end there. Okay? So basically, when we run into this, the level 1 BP, the complete L1 BP, the trigger at the end, the collision box, we're going to cause the game to pause. Right? All right, and let's go ahead and set up the other one. So off of the secondary condition, or off of the second pin, let's go ahead and type in cast to complete. Complete, and there's the second one, right? So we're now grabbing onto the second one. Don't forget to make sure that it's us that we're running into. I'm going to drag that down so we have a nice straight line. We have a nice straight line. And this one, I'm going to want it to connect it to the the level 2 phase, right? Pause. And apparently I wrote that as level 2. All right, whatever. We know what it is. All right, so now we have that. Let's go ahead and hit compile and save. And at this point, we have when our actor runs into the collision box at the end of level 1 and level 2, we have unique ones that are going to be taking us to level 1. So if we look at level 1 is going to be taking us to level 1. If we go to level 2 will then be showing us, npause L2, and this was npause L1. Okay, I'm fine. From there, let's go back to here. No, so the first person blueprint, and let's go back to event graph. Now, the problem is about our end condition, right? So what happens when our health bar gets down to 0 and we need to see the fail screen, right? We want to be able to end up seeing underneath maps, underneath event fail, this. Now the you have failed, we have not set up the button, so let's actually do that quickly before we move on. So I'm going to right click on the button and I'm going to say wrap with button. Okay, and then we'll go to the second one, right click, and let's say wrap with button. Now that we have the 2 buttons, we need to change the text, obviously, because we're not going to be hitting the enter button anymore. So let's just try, call this try again, and let's go to the second text, and let's make this one return to main menu. Okay, so we're not going to say a level, so it just says you failed, and then we're going to have a button that's going to take us to allow us to redo the level, and a button that's going to return us to the main menu. Let me fix that. Return, not eturn. Return. Okay, so now we have the buttons correct. Let's add the code to the button. So with the first button selected, I'm going to right click, go to graphic, and I actually already have them there. So the first button will look at what our current level is and send us back to the current level, and the secondary button will take us back to the main menu button. And I'm actually surprised that that's there. Why it's there, I'm not sure, but I'm happy. We'll take it. Alright, so that button is going to return us to the same level. This button will return us to the main menu. So let's go ahead and hit compile and save. And let's go back to our first person blueprint. And essentially all we have to do is we already removed the enter and the end conditions from down here from where we had them on the Boolean. And let's go ahead and remove the disable movement. And from there we need to create one more condition. So let's double click on the last condition that we created, the level 2, and let's do Control C to copy this. Let's go back over to the My Blueprints panel, click New Function. We're going to call this 0 health bar underscore end pause, so we know what it is. Okay, from this we'll paste what we copied from the other, exactly the same thing, and we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll connect this to the front of the stuff we just copied over. Here we're going to create a different widget, so let me get rid of those. Let's attach this to the lose widget, right? So the level fail widget. We'll create a new variable, so we'll promote to variable. We will rename this variable 0. I can't really tell what that is. Let's see, 0 health bar underscore and pause. Yeah, okay, why not? That's fine. It's just a little bit longer, I guess, than what I wanted. Okay, we'll just pull that back, no problem. Let's grab that, stick it there, and with this variable here, we'll go ahead and get it and add it as the widget that we're going to add, and the widget that will be available for us on the viewport. So let's hit compile and save, and hopefully if we've done everything correctly, let's go let's go back to the event graph, and now that we have that function, let's add that 0 health function to the back here. Okay, so just like up here when an event happens, it triggers the end screen. Here, when our health bar goes below 0, it's going to create this widget, and then it's going to go directly into the health bar pause. Let's make sure that that is the same widget. Okay. All right, very good. So then that way we don't have two widgets showing up. Let's hit compile and save, and let's go test this. So let's go to level 1. Let's push play, and let's try the fail conditions first. Okay, so you'll very much see that the game has paused, right? And the health bar is at 0, which is why we've gotten this one. Let's hit try again, and try again is not working. Okay. So let's see why try again is not working. Let's go back to first person health. Let's go here. Let's go there. Okay, so the health bar is there. Let's go to the buttons. So we're going to go to the widget health bar. Let's check here and get current. So on clicked. Yeah, I wouldn't. Remember how the buttons were already there? I'm actually going to delete these because we don't know why they would already be there. And let's go ahead and remake them ourselves. So I'm going to click on this button. Let's hit graph. When clicked, yep, the button has a different name, so that's why it wasn't working. So current name, current, yep, that was it. Current name. Let's have that go to open level. And let's connect these two. So when the N key gets selected, the button. Okay, let's get the second button. When that's clicked, we're going to say quit game. Alright, and let's get player controller. Alright, so now buttons should work. Let's try the fail conditions again. So let's save everything, close these boxes, and let's try to push play and see if we get our buttons to work. Okay, yep, that took us, aha, one last thing that's happening. So when we do all of this, we have a game pause that we have created that has stopped all the first-person player stuff. I can't shoot, I can't rotate, I can't move. So what we're going to have to do to fix this is we're going to actually have to go into each one of the levels. So we're going to have to go into map, level 1, save, yes, let's go ahead and save, and let's go into its blueprint. So let's open up its blueprint editor, and right here is where we're going to need to make a change. So right now actually yours should be looking like this, because what we did was we had the event when we respawn, we just respawned at the beginning of that level. But now that we're using the trigger box, we actually have to do this slightly differently. So let's break that. We're going to send this to a sequence because we want two things to happen. So let's go to sequence. Sequence. Okay. From sequence, we will make the respawn the second thing. And what we'll need to do for the top, for the level, okay, so what we'll need to do for the top for the level is to click off of here. Let's type in cast to first person character, and we're going to make sure that we have the pawn for the first person character. So let's type in get player pawn. Okay. And then from there, what we're going to do is right-click off and type in unpause game. Remember, that's a function that we created in the previous tutorial. And with that, we'll connect the target node to this, and we now have the piece of code that we're going to have to copy and paste into level 2, into level 3, into level 4. Because if you don't unpause the game, even though you're respawning in the same level or another level, it still sees the conditions for the paused game. So let's hit Control C. Let's go ahead and compile, and let's go to level 2. So we're going to go to the level 2 blueprint map. So we're in level 2, go to blueprints, go to open blueprint, level map. This is the code that we had before. We can get rid of that code. Let's pull this out, copy and paste what we had from the other code, or from the other level, and then let's reattach the sequence, the beginning play, to this, and then we'll reattach that to down there. Okay, so at this point, once we respawn into the level, the first thing it's going to do is get rid of the unpaused conditions. So let's hit compile and save, and let's close this and push play, And let's actually start from level 1. And let me push play. Okay, so we're still checking. Alright, so let's hit try. Alright, so now I have been completely unpaused. I can go back and check the exit for this. So return to main menu. Okay, that did not return us to the main menu, which means I probably misspelled something. So let me go fix that. Let's go to, what was that? Win widget 1, return to main menu. Let's go to the graph. Main menu, menus, map. Let me see how I've actually got my main menu. So main menu, map. Main menu map 2. That's what I actually have. So I'm going to copy it. Let's main menu map 2. That should be correct. Oh, I'm in the level 1 widget. Sorry, I should actually be in the level lose. Oh, so I actually have it to where it's quitting the game. Interesting. Let me make that button. Hold on. Return to main menu. Try again. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my bad. That should be an open level. Okay. And with that open level, now we can type in main menu map 2. Okay. Now, finally, we should have everything working. So let's go ahead and beta test everything. So let's try the fail conditions first. That one works. Well, we knew that from last time. Okay. Check return to main menu. That worked. Okay, so we can see now that we get to the end of the level. We get the you win level 1 complete, which is what we want. We're going to play the next level. We see that our health bar is still there, which is good. And let's check our second box. Remember that this one, so we are getting the level 2 completed, which is the level that we're in, so we know we're getting the right widget. This one, instead of saying go to next level, says replay level, so let's click that. We'll see that we get to replay the level that we want. If you have to go to a third level, that would have been, go to next level, and then you would have programmed that button to go to level 3. Let's check to see that goes to the main menu, and it does. And the third last thing I'm going to do is check to make sure that if my health bar reaches levels or 0 and level 2, that I respawn in level 2 and not in level 1. Okay, and there we are. We get the fail. Let's hit try again, and it does indeed bring us to level 2. Okay, fantastic. So at this point, we've checked all the conditions that we need. We've seen that every condition works the way it's supposed to. I spawn where I'm supposed to. I go to the next level where I'm supposed to. So everything's working. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I know it was kind of a long one, but we did have to do quite a few things to get this to work because of the levels, and it may take you longer depending on how many levels you have. So have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.